China has once again defended its old ally Pakistan. Beijing has now said there are disagreements in listing Jamaat-ul-Mujahideen chief Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Mohammad Azhar, United Nations designated terrorist. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said there are clear stipulations on listing individuals and organizations as global terrorists, and China will follow these stipulations and reach a consensus. Remember, China has constantly blocked India's bid to designate Masood Azhar as a global terrorist in the United Nations. After Beijing last year blocked application made by India, it had placed this January a 6-month technical hold on a United States. In fact, United Kingdom and France backed this application. A second 3-month hold was placed in August under the committee's rule that allow members to seek more information. China said on Monday it would block the application when the hold expires on November 2nd. Let me go across to my colleague Anand Krishnan, who is joining us live from Beijing for more on this. Anant, once again, it seems that despite all the effort, despite post-Doklam and so forth, China's position vis-a-vis is unchanged. This is going to be the biggest roadblock for better ties between India and China.
No, that's absolutely right, Ankit. This is the second time, of course, in 2 years that China has effectively stymied an application to list a known terrorist. And what's especially troubling about this particular instance is that just in September, China had agreed to name the Jaish-e-Mohammed as an organization that the international community needed to crack down on. If you recall, at the BRICS summit in Xiamen, the declaration mentioned the Jaish-e-Mohammed by name. But then just 1 month down the line, Beijing has once again drawn a line and said that it's not going to support this bid to sanction Masood Azhar, even if it means, as you very rightly pointed out, this will certainly be a disruption in India's relations with China that have just been slowly recovering after the Doklam standoff.
Anant, also now, have we got like some sort of a response? Of course, the government of India is going to react to this. This is only going to escalate matters as far as India-China diplomacy is concerned. Already coming out just, of the Doklam standoff. This is not only going to create roadblocks, but also mistrust as far as the government of India is concerned.
Well, that's certainly right, Ankit. There's no question that India will see this as a setback to relations with China. But having said that, you can be sure that the Indian government possibly expected China to do this, given that when India put forward the application last year, Beijing followed exactly the same strategy of placing a technical hold and then finally blocking the application. So you can be sure that Delhi expected this. But at the same time, India will continue to force this issue, very possibly putting a new application just to tell China that this is a core concern of India. And India will certainly isn't going to let this pass and will forcefully make its interest known when it comes to a very important issue such as terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
Anand, stay on with me. Let me also go across to Ms. Alka Acharya. She's an expert on Chinese affairs. Ms. Acharya, how do you see this? Once again, China, it's not a real message, a straight message being given to India. They value Pakistan much more than the relationship with India.
I think it's quite clear indication of the shrinking of the space that both the countries were trying to make to accommodate each other's core interests. Coming on the heels of India's announcement that they are ready to look at the quadrilateral with Japan, Australia and the United States, and coming on the heels of the kind of statements that are now emerging from the American and Indian meetings, the Chinese were bound to, I think, raise the ante somewhere. And clearly, this is part of the game that is now unfolding, which is that there is going to be a shrinking of space of accommodation for India and China. And I think it's important that the two countries sit down and sort out these issues at the earliest.
Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us with your inputs on this. Let me also bring in my colleague Jugal Purohit, who is joining from the newsroom for more on this. Jugal, Have we heard any response as far as the Ministry of External Affairs of the Government of India is concerned? This once again, as you know, as me and Anand were discussing, puts the entire diplomatic wheel that had started churning post the Doklam, standoff once again back to square one. This is something that pushes the entire agenda back to Pakistan, where China has made it very clear Pakistan is much more valuable to them.
Well, Ankit, you see the Chinese Foreign Ministry has today only expressed what it will be doing when the 2nd of November arrives and the technical hold, technically completes itself, and that's when the matter will come up. So the Chinese have just about indicated what they are to do on the 2nd of November. So we will, of course, have to wait just when the MEA chooses to react. It could be now, it could be even on the 2nd of November when the actual exercise, unfolds, and we see the Chinese doing what they have told us. Now, a very interesting point, Ankit, to note is that this is all emanating from the Security Council Committee number 1267, and last year it was India which had mooted this proposal. This year, in fact, it was the US which had mooted this proposal to have Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, and the organization has already been designated as a terrorist organization, but the head of that organization also needs to be. So this was a US proposal which was put into cold storage by China in terms of the technical hold. It was backed by UK, it was backed by France, and now interestingly the Chinese have said that there have been disagreements and that there is no consensus. So clearly Anand will perhaps be able to shed more light. Just who is it that China is referring to, or is it merely that the Chinese are using the cover of disagreements and lack of consensus to hide what is essentially their own ambition? So this is the question that needs to be asked, because if US, UK, France and India have already backed the proposal, we do not know as of now what Russia's clear position is. Then if it's just China, then it's clearly using diplomatic jargon to mask its own ambition and help Pakistan.
That's right. Jugal, just stay on with me. Let me also bring in at this point of time Mr. Shrikant Kondapalli. He's an expert on Chinese affairs. Sir, how do you see this once again? This announcement, or this, this intention by the Chinese Foreign Ministry of extending the hold on the application as far as declaring Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar is concerned. What sort of a message should India draw down from this?
Number one, it is consistent with what the Chinese have been saying on the Masood Azhar. In the sense that there is the whole file that they require, etc., etc. But it is consistent from the point of view of the Chinese investments now as part of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Over $62 billion have been poured into this in various infrastructure projects, also with military intention. For this, they need substantial Pakistani backup, Pakistani support for the Chinese activities to enter into the Indian Ocean through Gwadar and other ports in future. So the Chinese are now dependent on Pakistan, and hence the Chinese are very sensitive to the Pakistani concerns on this issue of Masood Azhar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us with all those details. Of course, China trying to protect its own interests, but they are absolutely contrary to ours. And now the government of India, of course, once again will have to take a strong position as far as this entire issue is concerned. Jugal Purohit, and also thanks to my colleague Anand Krishnan, both who joined us from Beijing and New Delhi on this story.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.